I said, we're going to have to do this again. Well, we don't have to. We're going to do it again because the guy claims to be a former Calvinist. Calvinism doesn't matter. But he can't understand why God would determine somebody to do something and then judge them for it. Like that's illogical. Like he says, it's a mystery. Listen to some of what he says.
The Bible is very clear on so many passages of God telling and instructing and reminding, encouraging and admonishing for us to do certain things. You look at like
That's that's correct. It is.
God just reminding Israel all throughout the Old Testament, remember to walk in my ways, turn back to the Lord. If it's decreed, if all things are decreed, why is God telling the nation of Israel to walk a certain way and to turn back to the Lord, and that he's going to cause, he's going to bring judgment, he's going to bring destruction, he's going to bring consequences for choosing to not walk in faithfulness and faithful obedience to God?
Okay, because he has a plan and a purpose, and especially in the Old Testament, it's that's the skia of the new thing to come. So he just can't understand it. But let's just once again look in the Bible, and I'm going to cover I'm going to cover basically the whole Old Testament in a few verses to answer his question. He can't understand it. It's God's logic. It's not our logic. And the reason he does that and he tells them to do stuff they can't do is he has a purpose for it. He has a plan. And the plan is Jesus Christ. So that Jesus Christ does, to show the man Jesus Christ does, and the man cannot, is to show God's holiness and greatness and purpose. That's why, that's the reason, that's the logical reason, if you want to call it. Why? Now let's look at it actually happening in the Bible. You don't believe the Bible says such a thing? It's bigger than life. I'll show you. Again. So we're going to go to Deuteronomy. This is, I think they're in Kadesh Barnea, getting ready to take the land. But this is before they have taken the land that God promised Abraham. And he says, and it shall come to pass. It shall come to pass. If thou hearken diligently. Well, it says if. That means they got a choice. No, it doesn't. This is in answer to his question is why does God keep saying, well, if you do it? If you couldn't do it, why does he say, if you couldn't do it, why does he say that? No, what shall come to pass is the if. What shall come to pass is God telling them if. And I'm going to show you that. It doesn't say, if it shall come to pass. As it, well, if you do it, it shall come to pass. No. Even in the Hebrew, it says, and it shall come to pass if. What's going to come to pass is all this stuff. And God basically lays out everything that's going to happen to Israel between chapters 28 of Deuteronomy and 30. He just lays it all out, all the ifs, and they're not going to do it. He's going to tell them if, and they're not going to do it. I'm going to show you that. That's what shall come to pass. Like I said, I'm going to show you like a whole swaths of the Bible. So Deuteronomy 28 to the end, and then you go to Isaiah. The first 6 chapters, it's the vision of Isaiah, what God is telling Isaiah to tell Israel. What he's telling them is, if you obey, he's telling them obey. If you obey, good. If you don't, bad. If you obey, good, not bad. That's what he's telling them. He's telling them the if, repeatedly. Over and over and over again. Then you read these chapters, get up to chapter 6. All right, so you get up to chapter 6, and all this is previous is what God is telling Isaiah to preach to Israel. That if, make the heart of the people fat, make their ears heavy, blah, blah, blah. Tell them if they obey, if they hearken. And then here you go. And then says Isaiah says to God, how long do I preach this? And he, how long? And God answered, until the cities are wasted and without inhabitant. And the house, until they're all gone, until I destroy them for not obeying. After I have you preach, obey. If you obey, after I have you preach, obey me. And if you obey, I'm going to destroy them. It's already decided he's going to destroy them. They're not going to obey. God has Isaiah out there preaching, if you obey, when he's already decided they're not going to. Is that not clear? Is that not clear? How long should I preach the if? Until they're utterly desolate and the land is utterly desolate. God has already decided before Isaiah even preached that they're not going to obey, and he's going to wipe them out. Now, you don't understand? Okay. You don't understand. But it's what the Bible says. It is clearly what the Bible says. There's a whole Old Testament of it. It's okay if you don't understand. Maybe someday you'll understand. It's okay not to understand. But it's what the Bible says. Like it or not.